$33,102 is exactly how much money I sold on Amazon in my third month selling on the platform. As a complete beginner on Amazon, as a complete beginner to online arbitrage, to everything, might be the same situation and same steps that you're also in right now. Now, just because I sold that much does not mean that I profited that much. I actually didn't profit that much at all because I didn't have a properly trained, properly vetted way to actually go ahead and analyze my products that I was finding. So a lot of my items were tanking in price. I was making nearly as much as I actually thought I was going to be making. So these are things that I wish I would have known. These are 10 different things that I look at before I purchase any single product on Amazon. I will literally not buy a product if it does not pass this criteria check. So what I'm going to do today is fold back. I'm going to show you exactly what these are, but not only am I going to tell you what they are, what I'm going to do is actually show you listings of products that demonstrate the red flag, that warning sign that I would be avoiding. So when you're analyzing products, you can reference this video, go through this checklist, make sure everything lines up. And as long as these things do line up, there's absolutely no reason that product that you found is not going to be profitable and it's not going to be tanking in price, as long as, again, you follow this strict product criteria checklist. So starting off, number one, jumping straight into it. Okay, the first thing always, is that product profitable at the current lowest FBA price? You don't want to be pricing any products and anticipating that you're going to sell it much higher than what the actual competitive market is. Now, again, this is FBA price. Don't be looking at FBM. We're doing FBA. We want to be looking at FBA prices, not FBM. So if we take a look at this product right here, we can actually go ahead and take a look and see what something like that might look like. So let's take, for example, this Keepa chart down here, and let's also go ahead and take a look at our offers. So again, we are doing FBA, which means we are going to be competing with FBA sellers right here. So $36.39 is the price point that I'd be plugging in here as my sale price, because if I'm buying this product for $18.11, I can quickly see that at the lowest FBM price at $34, I might not necessarily want to buy this because my ROI here is fairly tight. Now, if we up this to the lowest FBA price, which actually, look at the buy box right now, it is the FBA seller, because again, FBA sellers are prioritized. This is why you want to be doing FBA. We can see that they're priced at a much higher price. Versus now, if we take a look and we analyze this price point, yeah, this actually looks fantastic at this ROI right here. I'd be buying a lot more of these. This completely changed my whole analysis. So always make sure that when you're analyzing a product, you're using the lowest FBA price, not the lowest FBM price, and vice versa. Make sure that you're not using the highest FBA price, right? We don't want to be pricing this product at potentially at $40 if actually the price is $36.40. So really make sure that your numbers here always make sense, so you're seeing an accurate representation of what you're actually going to be making on that product. Okay, that is literally the first check I always make on every single item. I find it profitable. I'm like, okay, well, where can we actually sell this at? And that's the price that we're gonna have to plug in there before we go ahead and start doing any more analysis. Now, the next thing I look for, is there a buy box? Now, personal preference for me is always selling on listings that actually have a buy box. So what does a listing that doesn't have a buy box look like? It's going to look something like this, right? If we pull up a listing, we can actually see there's no buy box price point in here. And let me just get rid of seller so you can see what it looks like for a regular person checking out, right? We have to click see all buying options to actually go ahead and buy this product. So obviously it's going to kill sales. If you have low reviews and you're a new seller, you're not going to be getting any sales really on that product most likely. And we can see right here on the Keepa chart, if we zoom out of it, it looks like the buy box disappeared on about December 13th and it has not come back. So I'd be very skeptical here. We can see that the actual monthly sold is actually starting to shrink as well, because again, the buy box is gone. The sales rank's going to start climbing up and it's going to be moving slower. So it doesn't mean necessarily not to buy the product, but if you're brand new, I would just personally stay away from it unless there's like there's no sellers on it. Then maybe go ahead, because you're not going to experience that pricing. But in this situation right here, there's 59 sellers on a listing with no buy box. This is simply not going to turn out. It's not going to pan out well. I wouldn't be hoping that Amazon is just going to reactivate the buy box any moment. I wouldn't be playing off of chances in these situations. So that is step number two, check number two. Now, number three, is this a generic listing or is this branded correctly? So I'm going to show you two examples. I'm going to show you an example of a listing that is branded correctly and an example of a listing that is not branded correctly. So first things first, let me show you the one that's not branded correctly, because a lot of you might be seeing these listings, right? We pull up a product. First thing that stands out is, okay, it's a Spring Valley item, but then we see this random little sticker patch thingy right here, whatever this is, guide to vitamins. This is a clear indicator that it's not going to be an actual branded product. And we can see right here on Seller Amp, it says sold by Vitasol, and we can even see right here on the brand, it says generic. This is a big red flag, and listings you want to stay away from. These listings get closed down quick. You get a Section 3, IP issues. There are things that you want to be staying away from when you're selling on Amazon. Always make sure the brand here actually matches up to the correct brand that you're actually trying to sell. So for example, here's a good example of a product that is branded correctly. This Hydro Flask, we can see visit the Hydro Flask store. This is the actual brand product and it's branded correctly. Even up here, Hydro Flask. If we click into that store, this is going to take us to their actual storefront, right? This is a properly made listing. This is a real listing that you can go ahead and sell on. You're not going to have issues like that, at least from a correct branding standpoint on this listing. So again, these are 3 things I look over every single time before I buy a product. Is it profitable with the lowest FBA? Is there a buy box? Is this a generic listing or is it branded correctly? Okay, obviously if it's generic, we would avoid that product. Okay, number 4, are there any large sellers on the listing? Now, here's a preference for me. Personally, I prefer to only sell on listings that have smaller sellers on them. So sellers that have under several thousand reviews. Anyone that has 10,000, 100,000 reviews, generally I'm staying away from them. They probably have some kind of relationship with the brand. I personally don't like to look at them. And honestly, a lot of times they're not very arbitrageable products anyways. So there's nothing that you want to even be looking at. So let's take a look at 2 products right here. What we can see in this example is the brand is actually selling it, right? Mary and May. Okay, this is another red flag when the brand is selling the product. I typically would not want to be looking at products where the brand is selling it. Why? Because again, there's probably going to be issues with them selling it. There's not a lot of competitive offers here, and they're probably taking up pretty much all this buy box here. And yes, they are. They're taking up 100% of the buy box. This would be something that I would avoid for that reason exactly. And for this other reason right here, large sellers, again, they might have a relationship with the actual brand itself, or they might be getting a much better price than us. But also on top of that, typically when listings have big sellers on them, like potentially this Primor Emporium seller, a lot of times these sellers are taking up a lot of that buy box and there's not much to go around for other sellers, right? This seller's taking up 68% of the buy box and listing sells 100 times a month. Now there still might be opportunity here. This is not necessarily a crazy red flag. I might go out and test a product like this, but for the most part, typically it's going to be a red flag and something that I'd probably avoid, again, because they take up a lot of the buy box. That's the number one thing, but also they could be working with the brand directly, IP issues with the listing, all sorts of things. I prefer to just sell on listings that everyone else is selling, right? You might as well be selling on safe listings that everyone else is selling on. That's going to be your best bet for this stuff long term. So that's number 4. Now, again, going back to the IP relation, right? Number 5, is there any IP? So here's how you actually spot an IP on a product chart when we're looking at it on Keepa. So this product right here historically has had lots of IPs. I'm going to go back in time and I'm going to show you guys what that might look like for an example. So if we zoom back right here, right, this time during the product's history, there was a ton of sellers on here. If we zoom in a little bit right here and right here, we can actually see that there was a time where they actually filed an IP. Now, this goes back to my recent point saying you don't want to sell on listings with the brand because they're going to eventually file an IP. And that's exactly what happened right here, right? During this price history, the brand was selling this product too, but this listing sold so fast that it didn't really matter. Everyone was still getting sales, but in my head, I saw this listing. I'm like, this is probably not a good idea because they're probably going to end up filing IPs because that's what brands do, especially in this beauty niche. And again, what do you know if you zoom in right here in the offers? That's exactly what they did right here. From 71 offers down to 51. They kicked off 20 people, and those 20 people got an IP on their strike, and they actually went ahead and did it again. Right over here, again, we dropped all the way from 23 down to 12. So that is what an IP looks like. It's that sharp drop in the offers. Now, don't mistake an IP, like right, this right here is not an IP. This is a gradual sell-off. Don't mistake that for this harsh sell-off right here, right? It doesn't matter how far we zoom in. It's always going to just indicate that big drop. So that, again, right there is an IP. Always look for that on every single listing that you're selling on before you go ahead and buy it. If there is an indication of an IP, especially within the last year, I personally would just avoid that. Now, number 6, is this a variation listing? If so, make sure that we're actually properly analyzing this variation correctly. So if we check out this product right here, this Nike slide, what we're going to see is this Nike slide sells a lot. Okay, it sells 800 plus times a month. That does not mean that the size that we want to sell is actually selling 800 times a month, right? If we come over here to the variations tab on Keepa, we can jump into this section right here once this thing loads, and we're going to actually be able to see which ones are selling the best. Right? So if we look at this product right here, we can see bought in the past month. This actually will separate it per variation. So in this actual listing right here, it looks like most of these are actually selling pretty well. Every single one of these variations. So you sort of like this, looks like the size 11 is selling 800 times a month, right? But if we were to look at this listing and we saw this size 9 and this one that we thought was selling 800 times a month, that'd obviously be a big mistake. We might go way too deep on this and not be able to move through it all. Okay, so this example might not be the best because these are actually all selling pretty well. There's other listings out there where there's like a bunch of different colors in these slides, and there's one like random size 4 in a pink color that's not selling at all, and you might find it profitably at like an outlet or something, but in reality, if you check this out, that one might not be selling. So make sure you're always checking out this tab to really verify that that variation that you found profitably is actually moving. And if it is, then great. Then just treat it like a regular listing. It's all good. Okay, number 7, has Amazon sold this product in the past? So personally, I stay away from listings that have Amazon on them currently. That's just my preference. Yes, there's plenty of ways to go ahead and make money on those listings. This is just my personal preference. I prefer to stay away from them. But what I will always check also is to see if Amazon's historically been on this listing, which we can actually see right here, they were on this listing. Now, what I would do is see what price point they're at, which it looks like about $20. So for an example like this, right, we've already established that this listing we're not selling because there's no buy box. But let's just say there was a buy box and it looks something like this. I would want to make sure that, even if Amazon's not there right now and I want to price this up at about $25, I would want to make sure that I'm at least still profitable at $20 because that's where Amazon used to be at. So in case they do come back in stock, we can still at least sell through at a break even or maybe make a little bit of money and we're not going to be losing a bunch of money. That's how I'd be treating Amazon on a listing, okay? I would never go too deep when Amazon's historically been on there, especially within the last year. If it's been over a year since they've been on the listing, again, there's probably not a good chance that they're going to come back, but obviously there is always a situation where they could. So treat those orders a lot lighter just in case that does happen. That's how I'd be treating those situations. Number 8, is this product on a price spike? So let's look at 2 examples of products that are on price spikes. So you can see 2 different indicators that you might actually see when these items are on price spikes. So you have one example that looks a little bit like this, which this is just an indicator of a drop in sellers, right? So this one's, we went all the way from 49 sellers down to 8. So yeah, we're seeing the price kind of trend back up. This is just a basic supply and demand price spike. These are actually pretty solid. You can make a lot of money on these as long as you're really paying attention to the offer count here. I like these kinds of listings, especially to capitalize on them while the competition's low. Again, not maybe long term, but at least for the time being, at least as of this specific time frame. Yeah, I want to be buying some of these and selling them on my store. Would I buy 1,000 units? Hell no, I would not buy 1,000 units, but I might buy 20, 30 units and sell through them at this really profitable price. So this is an indicator of like an okay price spike listing where I won't necessarily completely avoid it. But then a listing like this, where the brand historically sells it at $45 and then for some reason right now they're back at $60, right? This is a little bit less predictable because at this point it's the brand pricing their products and you might find it profitable here, but historically they sell it here, right? So this, you're just playing with fire. You're really not taking a well-educated prediction. You're just completely guessing versus here, it's at least supply and demand playing a role. So still be aware that this can definitely tank, but at least see that it's because of demand or it's because the supply has fallen. That's why the price is going up. So you might be able to capitalize and make some money in these situations. Those are the 2 different types of like price spike situations you'll typically see on these listings. Okay. And again, tying in kind of with the price spike, you're going to see offer count spikes. This is where the offer count is just climbing really fast. And it's a good indicator that likely that price point is probably going to be falling here shortly, which is actually what's happening on a listing like this, right? I wouldn't buy this. The offer count has just gone up way too much. The price is coming down way too much. It looks like it kind of sold at $12. Very good, very, very, very good chance that the price might come down even more. Now, this looks like it could be a seasonal item, potentially, maybe. Maybe not. It looks like it sells pretty much all year. This listing does sell pretty quick, 1,000 times a month. But even with 1,000 sales a month, we still drop from $1,550 down to $12. So again, maybe it's going to catch a bottom here at 12, but we don't really know that. I personally don't like taking on risks like this when the offer count is just climbing so fast. I'd want to see this turn a little bit before going in and buying it and seeing where that price point's at. So that's one thing that I really like to avoid. Now, number 10, does this product sell consistently all year? We don't want to just be selling on listings that are, actually we can definitely sell on these listings that do really well in the Christmas time and then Halloween, right? Seasonal products are fantastic. Just realize that they are seasonal. Okay, so how do you spot a seasonal item? Look at this product right here, right? The thing that I'm looking at is how fast this listing is selling. Okay, yellow line right here. We can see that the sales rank, how it changes, all this kind of stuff right here. So this item actually sells pretty well all year for the most part. This peppermint candy thing sells pretty good. It's not as seasonal as some other products might be, but this is still a good indicator of what that might look like, right? You can see that during Christmas time, right, this thing sells ridiculously fast. It still sells well all year, but you can see this yellow line. We sell a lot during December, January, sell a bit less, and then again back to January, we're selling a lot more. So this listing isn't the craziest demonstration of it, but essentially this is what you're going to see on them, right? Sales rank drops during holidays when it's actually supposed to be selling, and then again it goes up during the regular year. It drops a little bit here. So Those are things that I'm looking at when I'm, before I buy any product. This is my 10-step checklist, and these are all different examples of what that's going to look like. And I'm going to link this board down in the description below, so you can actually take a look at every single one of these listings for yourselves, and you can actually go ahead and see what those look like outside of this video. So you can use this as a checklist whenever you are sourcing your own inventory for your store. Please realize that analysis is just as important, if not more important, than product sourcing when it comes to reselling products on Amazon, because we can find all the products in the world, right? We can put in searches on Amazon where literally all you see is the offer count falling and prices going up. So obviously those products can be profitable, right? There's ways you can put these in to keep a product finder. But if we can't analyze those products after we find them, we're going to be spending $10K a month on inventory, and we might even be making back less of it because these items are going to start tanking in price. So really make sure that you know what you're looking at. So you're not buying bad inventory, getting IPs. You're not competing against Amazon. You're not buying listings that don't sell. You're not buying seasonal products. There's just a handful of things that can go wrong that you have to be looking at on these products before you end up buying them. And this is a 10-step checklist that I'm always taking a look at before I go ahead and purchase any new product to carry on my Amazon store. Now that we're in 2025, I know a lot of you have probably made New Year's resolutions to start selling on Amazon. Maybe you've been watching my channel for the last couple months and you still haven't started selling on Amazon. You've just been waiting for the right time. If you'd like my help building and scaling your store, literally me and you getting on Zoom, we find products together, build out your store, put in all the systems you need completely on a one-to-one basis. There's a Calendly link down below. Booking a call, we'll chat, I'll run you through my program. And if it's a good fit and it's actually a good fit and you have realistic expectations of what's achievable with Amazon and you actually are ready to commit to this, you have to be 100% committed. Then we can get started ASAP. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Wanted to give a quick shout out to Maria and Blanca in my group. They've absolutely been crushing it. You can see when Maria started with me. Yep, right there. You can see her sales have just absolutely skyrocketed. She's scaling right now. Same thing with Blanca. Guess when she started? Yep, right there. Absolutely just scaling right now. These individuals worked extremely hard. Amazon is very simple, but it is not easy. Don't confuse simple and easy. This takes a lot of work. But if you want to cash flow some money in 2025, this is a great business model to get into. I make videos like this every single week. So I'll see everyone next week. Ciao.